There's a massive game taking place on Saturday for Super Rugby Pacific. The Blues hosting the Crusaders in what should be an absolutely awesome contest for round 4. These two sides, they have quite the extensive rivalry. Recent times, there's been some close head-to-heads. A lot of the times, they'll go in the way of the Crusaders. So the Blues, they'd love to change that momentum and pick themselves up a big win here. But in this preview, we'll be looking through at the lineups, the key players to watch out for both of these two sides, a bit on the head-to-heads, and then also a prediction at the end who I think will win this match. But starting off with the home side, the Blues, they have stacked their team, including a return off the bench of Beauden Barrett, who has been out for a few weeks, but now returning to try and add that bit more impact for the Blues later on. And at the contest, we're looking through at the starting lineup. It is Ofa Tuangafasi, AUCKLAND, and Marcel Renata to make up the front row. Josh Berry and Sam Derry as the locking duo. Now, we did see that Lachlan McWannell, he's out with concussion, and Patrick Tuipulotu is still out with that shoulder injury. Loose forwards, Torian Barnes comes into the starting lineup after a couple great games off of the bench. Dalton Papali as the captain at 7, and Hoskins Satutu, he then slots in once again as the number 8. Finley Christie and Stephen Perafeta keep their spots in the starting lineup. This is where maybe we could have seen Beauden Barrett go into the starting side, but instead, like I said, they want to use him late. When this game's starting to really get wide open, that's when Barrett can be so dangerous with his unpredictability, and they've been pretty consistent in terms of Finley Christie and Stephen Perafeta. Now, we did see their side lose to the Brumbies. Both men had solid enough performances throughout that matchup. Caleb Clark out on the left wing. It is quite a surprise to see that man's name on the lineup sheet after the injury that he did suffer last week. Looked like a pretty brutal rib injury, but he's back. He is a tough individual, and he did score 2 tries, starting to get his try-scoring ways back that he did have a couple of seasons ago. In the midfield, it is Peter Aki alongside AJ Lamb, so a lot of power there for this Blues side. Out on the right wing, it is Cody Vai, and then at number 15, this is where we do see Zahn Sullivan for the Crusaders. They have got a couple big changes, and one absolutely massive one at fullback. There is no Will Jordan for this contest. Mandatory rest period for that man, and it couldn't have come at a worse time for this Crusaders team with the fact that they're playing at Eden Park up against one of their biggest rivals. In the front row, George Bauer at 1. Cody Taylor slots in at 2. He returns from his rib injury that he did suffer only a couple rounds ago, and we won't be seeing George Bell for 4 to 6 weeks due to his foot injury that he did suffer in last week's game. Fletcher Nall will slot in as the 3, so an all Crusaders front row, all with a lot of ability when it comes to those scrums. Antonio Chalfoun and Jamie Hanna as the locking duo. Dom Gardner plays 6 alongside Ethan Blackadder and Christian Leo Willie, fresh off a hat trick in the last match for the Crusaders up against the Chiefs. Noah Hotham and Ravez Rehana's return in that 10 jersey. Severis out on the left wing. David Hart-Villiers as the captain at 12, with Lester Fainanuku on his outside at 13. Shea Fiaki, who is brilliant under a high ball, he's playing right wing for this match again, and Taha Kamara comes in at 15 to replace Will Jordan. Overall, both sides are stacked with the amount of talent that they've got across the lineup. Some handy players off the bench as well for the Crusaders. Kyle Preston is there, Corey Callow, and then also Will Tucker with a potential Crusaders debut. But looking through at the key players for these two sides, I do think that Beauden Barrett will have a slight role to play in how this Blues side go. Also, Caleb Clark in that starting side. What I believe has happened last week is he's found his form. It took him a long time to be able to get that first try, and then he went on to get another one straight after that. He is a dangerous threat with ball in hand, and the way that he was running it was extremely impressive last week up against the Brumbies. But the big factor will be, will that rib affect a little bit in the way that he plays? He looked a bit ginger after the game, not as ginger as Finley Christie. I don't know if you're allowed to say that. If he is 100%, he is going to be a very great attacking threat for this Blues side. Also in that 4-pack, I do think that Papali, Satutu, and Torian Barnes are all going to have their own roles to play, but I really like what Barnes has been able to do off the bench as an impact player. This is a massive opportunity in there ahead of Anton Segner for being number 6 in this matchup. If he can do what he's done off the bench as a starter, could book himself a lot more starting minutes in the future as well. For the Crusaders, it would have been Will Jordan had he been in the lineup, but I do think that Cody Taylor, with the amount of experience that that man brings to this Crusaders side, it is absolutely vital that he is getting his hands on the ball. And then also in the back line, Che Fiaki, Sevu Reece. One of them is a lot more known for their high ball ability. The other is a clinical finisher at Super Rugby level. So if they can partner well to try and shut down Caleb Clark as well as Cody Vai. Of course, no Cole Forbes for the Blues in this contest. So you'd have to say, in terms of aerial ability, the fact that it will be Clark versus Fiaki would be worth the price of admission alone at Eden Park for this game. But just looking through at the previous results for these two sides throughout their Super Rugby 2026 campaign thus far. For the Blues, they did lose their opening contest up against the Chiefs, 19 points to 15. They had a 10-point victory over the Force away from home, 42-32. And then the most recent game up against the Brumbies, losing at 30 points to 27. Now, what I will say is in both of those close losses for the Blues, there has been a bit of controversy around those games, but the Blues definitely will want to be on the right side of this result. In round 4 for the Crusaders, they have started off with 3 very different games. So far, we saw their close game up against the Highlanders in Dunedin, in which they did lose 25 points to 23. We saw them heavily defeated by the Brumbies in Christchurch, 50 points to 24. That was the most one-sided game we've almost ever seen for the Crusaders up against the Brumbies. And that half century, it would have been hurting for those Crusaders players, but obviously that also lit a fire underneath the Crusaders side as they went out the next week in Waikato and beat the Chiefs 43 points to 33. They had to come back into that contest as the Chiefs started extremely quick. But the Crusaders, they found their momentum more so in the second 40, where you could see the motivation was there to pick up their first victory. But recent head-to-heads for these two sides, I believe the recent record for the Crusaders in this head-to-head, they have done very well up against the Blues. I want to say 9 out of the last 10 matches have been won by the Crusaders. Now, 6 of those games have been in Christchurch, but the one game that the Blues were able to win was at Eden Park, 26 points to 6 in that contest alone. That was in the season where the Crusaders were really struggling. From here, though, this is a different looking Crusader side, and the Blues will have to bring their A game if they do want to be victorious in this matchup. And now we're on to a prediction. Now, this is a very hard game to predict because every sign from what we've just read out would say that the Crusaders should win this match. But there's just something unpredictable about this Blues side. And I believe if Caleb Clark is firing, if AJ Lamb is strong in the midfield, if Peter Feta and Christie are on the A game and the loose forwards are doing their job there for the Blues at Eden Park, they're going to make this game very close. And I'm thinking we're going to be split by less than 7 in this matchup. I'm going to go mid-20s. I'm going to say Crusaders, but it could go the other way. I'm going 26-21 in favor of this Crusaders side. I wouldn't mind being proven wrong if the Blues are able to get over the line, though, as this would help shape their Super Rugby season after just having the 1 win throughout their first 3. Although the Crusaders, they are also in the same boat. 1 win, a lot of opportunity to gain on the table for whoever takes out this game. But nonetheless, this game is kicking off at 7:05 p.m. on Saturday night here in New Zealand. We are going to be doing the commentary on the channel, as well as a bit of build-up for that match, as it should be an absolutely incredible one. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and let me know who you think will be winning this match, and I'll see you all for the next one.